zijn dochter erzählt. Nun, ich sollte am besten damit beginnen. Well, thank you all for coming. May I say you've scrubbed up very well. Most of you, anyway. Special mention to the bridesmaids, who are nearly as beautiful as the bride and are extremely numerous. Many of us gathered a few weeks ago in a beautiful woodland not far from here to say goodbye to Neil Harding, Ben's father. We know he would have loved to have been here. We also know he wanted us to celebrate this wedding, even if he wasn't here. So there's never any thought of cancelling. And we thirdly know that, he poured his life into Ben and his brothers here. And for the rest of their lives, they will reap a harvest from the good things he's sown in them. So in another sense, though he isn't here, the fruit of his life is. I'd really like to pay a tribute to the whole Harding family for their courage and support during this tragic time. Cordelia and I are proud to call you friends. We've had some lovely times together over the last many months, and we look forward to many more in years to come. I promised the German speakers, at least this is what I meant to say, that it's customary to tell stories to embarrass the bride. So I'd better get going. Ben and Ruth have known each other, I think, since year 7, is that right? Which is first form in Old Money. And they've been going out since year 10. Love bloomed in this very complex. So it's quite a special location for them. Actually, in this same building, Cordelia taught both Ben and Ruth maths, and about half the ushers and several of the bridesmaids, which might explain the sort of mathematical precision by which the day's gone so far. Anyway, I think Ben and Ruth have been an item for about 6 years, so I probably know plenty about each other. But I thought I'd give Ben a few tips on what he's taking on. So we've got a little bit more experience. She's a people person. Right from when she was tiny, she was playing with her little dolls and little people. And it wasn't long before she was saying, I'm sure I was born into the wrong family. She's the only extrovert in a family of introverts. So I think, Ben, your home will be full of people and laughter, and I think you'll probably enjoy that too. She's a born teacher. She's due to start teacher training next month, and we think she's the 5th generation of teachers in her family, which, if you clock it back, goes probably back to the Education Act in 1876. Now, most of the time while she's been growing up, the only sort of immediate subject for her teaching urge has been Thomas. So there was one occasion we called her down for tea, and she said, "I can't come now, I'm just putting Thomas into groups." And another time, I told Cordelia that, do you know she's paid Thomas 5p to have a lesson? Cordelia's loving response was, "She'd have to pay me an awful lot more." So she's a born teacher, so don't be surprised if you get the odd lesson. She's also quite talkative. I made the decision, possibly mistaken, to attach a phone contract for her to my bank account. Theoretically, £10 a month. I've just got a note of what happened over the months. First month, £10, £12, £10, £11, £11, £16, £25, £22, little talk from Dad, £12, £10, £16, £29, £45. And then there was another time, and I hope I got this story approximately right. I do remember it. And Ben and Ruth were on the phone, and I think Ben's phone ran out of gas, or he accidentally switched off or something. So he's mobile. So he went downstairs, looked up our landline number, wanted to continue to talk to Ruth, looked up our landline number, rang it. Cordelia answered, they had a little chat. Ben said, could I speak to Ruth? Cordelia took the phone upstairs, knocked on Ruth's bedroom door. Ruth is still talking. So she opened the door and Cordelia says, it's Ben on the phone. And she said, no, I've got Ben on the phone. Ben? Ben? And, so whether the rumour is true that he's gone off and made cups of tea, well, it is only a rumour, I think. So she's a little talkative. She's also extremely competitive. I don't know where she got that from, but I think Ben was quite shocked when revising for his GCSEs and he'd get a phone call from Ruth saying, Ben, I've done 3 hours, 47 minutes and 12 seconds of revision. How much have you done? And there was another time they were driving, Ruth was driving Ben, unusual actually, but she was driving Ben in Ben's car around the Jerry Hinton bypass, not far from here. And Ben, being Ben, always drives pretty well at the speed limit. So Ruth said, well, it's a 40-mile-an-hour limit, I'm going to drive at the speed limit, I'm not going to be outdone. So Ben's sitting there and he's noticing the lampposts are going past rather quickly. And then a roundabout, boom, goes past rather quickly. And Ben looks over and says, oh, you're going a bit fast. He says, no, I can't even get it above 25. Another roundabout flies by. Ben looks over and says, I think you're reading the rev counter. So beware the competitiveness. And she does have, it must be said, a bit of a sweet tooth. I have heard it said that she and her friend Holly, where are you? Holly Henry? Give us a wave, hi. I've heard it said, I can't believe it's true, Holly, that you used to make, when you were flatmates, you used to make cupcakes and put icing on them and eat them while you watched a film. Then you decided you didn't like cupcakes, so they just used to make a bowl of icing and eat that during the film. However, I can confirm, Ben, she still has most of her own teeth. Couple of words to Ben. Now, the real problem I have with Ben is really that he sets the bar for romance just a bit too high, guys. It's just not on. Once he cycled across Cambridge in the early morning gloom, jumped over a 6-foot fence, put a Valentine's Day card and a box of chocolates in her bike basket, jumped back over the fence, cycled back home again. Another time he took her to Venice for the day. So we're really not too keen on that. But apart from that obvious fault, we've really come to admire and love you, Ben. And respect the calling that God's put on your life. You feel part of the family already, but we welcome you with all our hearts into our family. In the novel Pride and Prejudice, which I think Ruth knows a little, you remember at the end, Lizzie, the heroine, is trying to persuade her father that she really does love Mr. Darcy and that he's a really good man. And when she finally succeeds in persuading her father, this is his reply, and I feel it's appropriate here. Well, my dear, said he, when she ceased speaking, I have no more to say. If this be the case, he deserves you. I could not have parted with you, my Lizzie, to anyone less worthy. Now a little word to Ruth. Darling, you've brought us joy ever since the moment we carried you home from the Rosie Hospital, and all through those 21 years. You look absolutely radiant today, and it's not just because of the efforts of the makeup girl, who did take 4 hours. With top coat and undercoat and plaster. Anyway, no, but who did take for a part. It's not because of that, it's because of what you are inside. You bring sunshine into the life of everyone you meet, and that's no, among your many other gifts, that's no small gift. We could not be more proud of you, darling. Finally, just a word for the two of you. You've known some very dark days, actually, in the recent months, more than any of us could wish on a young couple. But you've shown such resourcefulness. You have deep roots. I'll never forget how Ruth was commuting from Addenbrooke's hospital intensive care ward down to do her finals in London, final exams, back up against the intensive care ward, and still ended up with a first-class honours degree. That's pretty remarkable. You guys have built your lives. You guys have built your lives on the rock of God's goodness, and that matters when the bad times come. So, no doubt life being what it is, without being too philosophical, there will be more dark days ahead. But, set against that, I believe there'll be many happy, fruitful, fun, wonderful years as you live your lives as a married couple and as you serve the Lord together. God will never stop doing good to you. Goodness and mercy will follow you all your days, and you'll live in the good of that all your lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to be upstanding, please, and I propose a toast. You can say, to the bride and groom.